Okay, welcome back, Math 90. We were checking in the last video to see whether our answer, which was y equals -5/6, was correct. And so we were just about at this point where we were seeing if these two sides were equal to each other. And so in order to add fraction and a whole number and a fraction and a whole number, remember we need to get a common denominator. So I'm going to rewrite this 5 as 5/1 to make both of these fractions. And I'm going to rewrite this 10 as 10/1 because again I want to have two fractions over here so I can add them together. So if I'm looking at the denominators, I've got 3 and 1, and over here I've got 3 and 1. So I'm thinking a good common denominator would be 3. Because 3 goes into 3 and 1 goes into 3. Or you could even just take 3 times 1 and get 3. And so I'm going to take both sides and change them over to thirds because my common denominator is 3. So the -5/3, it already has a 3 for its denominator. So I'm just going to leave that -5/3, or if it helps you, some people like to multiply top and bottom by 1, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. And then next I'm taking the 5/1 and I'm changing that to thirds. So I'm multiplying top and bottom by 3. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 3 is 15. So I've got -5/3 plus 15/3. And they both have the denominator of 3. So I can put them together, and I'm just going to subtract because I have a positive and a negative. And there's more with the positive 15. So 15 minus 5 is 10. Denominator is 3, just bring that down, and so it's a positive 10/3. And I'm going to do the same over here. I'm going to change these both over to thirds, just like I did over on the left side of my paper. So this stays -20/3, and for the 10/1, if I'm multiplying both top and bottom by 3, I get 30/3. And again, I'm going to add them together, and I'm going to subtract because one's positive and one's negative. So 30 minus 20 is 10, and bringing the denominator just straight across, I've got 10 thirds equals 10 thirds. And so both sides do check. So I've got a final answer of y equals -5/6, and that does work because we did check it. Now this took a long time to check, so sometimes if you're on a test or a timed test or a timed quiz, you might not have time to do this long check. You just might want to put it in the calculator and check it. Okay? But it does work. This is what we got for an answer, and we plugged it in, and it did work out, so it is correct. Okay, if you need to pause, remember, if you need to pause and go back at any time, you can always do that. So let's go on to the next problem. And I've got, the next problem is 6y minus 2.1 equals y minus 2.1. So I'm bringing some decimals into this. So remember our steps, which we went over in a previous video. We want to look and see first, is there any like terms, or are there any parentheses, or anything we can simplify first. And I see here that I don't have any like terms at all. I don't have anything I can simplify. So I'm going to go to step 2, and like I said, I like to start with the numbers or the decimals first. So I'm going to start over here and here, and I've got a minus 2.1 and a minus 2.1. So if I start here or if I start here, what's the opposite of minus or subtracting? Minus or subtracting 2.1? Whoops. Adding 2.1. So I'm going to add 2.1 to both sides. Okay, well, these drop out, and I bring the 6y down, and these drop out, and I bring the y down. So I've got 6y equals y. Now you might be a bit confused, but we can still do the problem. So remember, we're going to do another step 2, get our y's or our variables all on one side. And remember, if you need to put a 1y here, you can. You don't have to if you don't want to. So I'm going to subtract 1y from both sides. Okay, and 1y minus 1y is 0. And 6y minus 1y is 5y. So 5y equals 0. Step 3, divide both sides by 5. What's 0 divided by 5? 0, we can have 0 on top. 0 divided by 5 is 0. So y equals 0 is our final answer. Okay. And if you want to check it, you can take the 0 and plug it in for y here and here. And I am certain that both sides will come out to be equal, so I am positive that y equals 0. Okay, we're moving on to the next one, a little bit harder. So step 1, we're looking and we're seeing if we can simplify anything on both sides. And we can simplify this first, the 3 times the quantity x plus 2. So remember distributive property from Math 085, or if you don't, remember that. What I'm going to do is just take the 3 times the x and the 3 times the 2. And I'm using the distributive property here. Okay. So this 6x minus 3 just comes down. we can't put x's and 3's together. And so we're going to simplify this and take 3 times x. 3 times x is 3x. And this plus is going to stay the same. 3 times 2 is 6. So here's our problem. I'm going to start with the numbers. I can start over here with the minus 3, or I can start over here with the plus 6. So I think I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Okay, so minus 3 plus 3 drops out. I'm left with 6x. 6 plus 3 is 9, so I'm left with 3x plus 9 on that side. And then I'm going to do a repeat of step 2, and I am going to either get rid of my 3x or my 6x. I want all my x's on one side, so I think I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So my 3x's drop out, and 6x minus 3x is 3x. So 3x equals 9. And my last step, I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. So x equals 3 is my final answer, or my solution. And we can check that in the next video. So I'm going to section 2.5, part 3.